Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Dalmar. Today we're going to take us further lessons in the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. Mysticism takes in everything in our world, everything has a deeper reason, everything has a spiritualness to it, even something so mundane as maybe your job and maybe just a relationship and just living. People are just bored about just being here and being in this world, and that's actually very much not true. I mean, they may be bored, but they have to look at Kabbalah and they'll actually be vitalized and energized, and everything has a meaning in the world. Every second, every part of time has a special meaning. Every person, every creation, every little thing in the world has a certain meaning in their lives, and therefore that's our job, is to search for it and look for it, delve into it and find the meaning. Now, one of the biggest issues today, I would say, are men and women and their individuality on one hand, but then we're trying to say their harmoniousness, how they get together. You know, if people are looking for that harmony, that weddings are on the low ebb and there's a lot more divorce and people aren't getting together, everybody's looking for their individuality. But that's one issue I think that we can delve in, very modern, very meaningful and current event, how the Kabbalah looks at men and women. Now, very interesting, let's go back to the beginning, because we have the Kabbalah's very deep idea how Adam and Eve were created. Man was the first man, and you say that if you look at the Bible, it was taken from Eve, but that's what we look in a deeper sense right now. That actually man and, Adam, we'll call him Adam and Eve were really one person. I don't know if we can understand such a person. They weren't just linked together. There was actually two different opinions. One was face to face. Obviously, I don't know if we can understand such a thing. We've seen such a thing on other people, that they are linked together, and that's why they were rib to rib. So they really were one person. So that's very important to understand, that right from the get-go, God created man and woman together. He does say man, he created Adam, but man could be in a very general sense also. You say mankind, which means humanity. You don't need men, you mean human beings. And because that man and woman originally were together, that actually they were separated, man went to sleep. Exactly how God did this, we don't know, but the bottom line is they were separated. Now this is very important, because on a physical level, people are different. Man is man and woman is woman. They may not have known each other for 20, 30 years in the world. All of a sudden they meet and they say, let's get together and join as a family unit. Now, very interesting and a very Kabbalistic idea, very beautiful, deep idea, that even though, as we say, obviously I just gave you a normal scenario, most people don't know each other. Even if you did know each other, you were boyfriend, girlfriend when you were young kids, but let's say you didn't even know each other, which most people didn't, from 20, 30 years old, and now you're all right, we're strangers, and we're just people who have common interests, and we get together. The Kabbalah says something a little different. I mean, obviously that's the scenario, but they say when a man and woman get married, it's not just two people like each other. Hey, we both like going bowling, so let's get together and let's be married, and let's live in the same family together, make a family unit. But it's actually something very, very much different, deeper. Man and woman together are actually originally one neshama, one soul. And as they come into the world, they were split into two, man on one side, woman on the other. And like I say, I know men and women could be born in different continents and different age times. It's, in a way, it's irrelevant to this issue. People might think that, we're two totally different people from two totally continents, 5, 10 years apart from each other. We grew up different than each other. I mean, a lot of times people marry different kind of people, so it may be true what they're saying, but ultimately when they finally join together, they're really one neshama that joined together. So it makes it a deeper relationship now. Now it's not just two people who like going bowling together. When they join together, they're two people that are two parts of one whole. That makes it a lot deeper. Again, you understand what we're saying now, that the marriage becomes not just a matter of convenience of two people joining together, it's a matter of a very spiritual force that is bringing it together. In Judaism, certain parts of Judaism, that you say, well, they're customs and traditions, but now we can show a little deeper meaning involved with the two, that there's a chuppah. A chuppah means like a canopy over the bride and groom as they get married. So generally you say the reason for it is like because, listen, they are two separate people, and as much as we say spiritually and Kabbalistically they're one unit, they are two separate people. Like I say, they grew up, they have different cultures, different continents, separate from each other, different parents. So obviously they like each other and they saw obviously common ground to get married. On the other hand, no two people are 100% alike, no matter who they are. Obviously a lot of commonality between them, but never 100%. So therefore the chuppah over both the bride and the groom bring the two together, and that shows on one unit. And this is really a very beautiful idea, because ultimately, Kabbalistically, you're saying it's very nice that you're bringing two souls together, but like I say, on the other hand, they are different people. So you can't just tell people spiritually, you have to work on a physical level also. This goes for everything in this world. You get the peace and love, it's a very good ideal, but you have to deal with nitty-gritty issues. Hey, you took something from me, you owe me something, you hit me. So you have to deal with it. You can't just go around saying peace and love, peace and love. I mean, it's very nice, peace and love. On the other hand, you have to deal with real issues, how you're going to rectify the wrong. You stole from me, you hit me, whatever the situation is. So back to our marriage idea, that, very nice spiritually, as we're saying Kabbalistically, they're two parts of a whole, but on the other hand, they are different. People are different. That's just a given. So therefore, the chuppah on a Kabbalistic note brings in something above them, and that's something beyond who they are. And that is the Ein Sof, which means the infinite light of Hashem goes beyond both people. It encompasses both people. You need a higher light to combine two different people. And again, as much as obviously they like each other and they found a lot of common issues with each other, they are different. So the chuppah is the infinite light that can draw two opposites together. To give an example about this, we love talking about the 10 spheros, the 10 emanations from God, and some of them are opposites. For example, you have chesed, which in Hebrew means kindness, and you have gevura, which is severity. Well, being nice and being tough are two totally opposite emotions. Yeah, they are right next to each other. They give an example how they can be together and stand next to each other. These are spiritual forces. And two parties are, maybe let's use, they always bring in the kings. They like talking about king, but we're in the United States, of course, so we like talking about the presidency. Here you have two cabinet officials, and they're arguing on some issue with each other. And maybe they have strong opposing issues with each other, and they're questioning each other, and maybe they don't even like each other. But let's say when the president calls for a cabinet meeting, and everybody is sitting there around the table, they don't start their squabbling in front of everybody. They just say, yes, we're standing at attention. I mean, well, I guess with the king is standing at attention. President, I don't know, he's standing at attention. But they sit there being civil, being nice to each other, working together. The president says, I want this issue done. And they're sitting at the table, and they're all working together. So they use this example of the different spheros. When you see something bigger than you are, then all of a sudden you don't start arguing and squabbling in front of everybody, in front of the king, or again the king, the president, the boss, whatever example you want to think about. but you actually work together. It's the same thing with a man and woman. Back to our issue, that yes, they are different, and yes, there's going to be differences, and yes, there is going to be friction. We're not Pollyannish. We know people are different. There's always going to be something that there's going to be some kind of rub or friction between two people. No two people are 100% the same. But again, using Kabbalah, using this idea that something's that above their heads, there's something higher than they are, then they understand there's a bigger factor involved. So that's very, very important. And really, the ultimate idea of marriage would be to have children. And that's actually, it says even in the Bible, that a man and woman to get together, they'll become bos harecha, to be one flesh. Or literally, that's what the literal words. What does it mean? That a baby is a product of two equal people. You need a father and mother, and then you have a baby, and that child is the unity of these, the result of the father and the mother. So therefore, that's a very beautiful idea, because just the idea of thinking about, of giving birth, of having a child, is just the idea of, again, that word Ein Sof, which means no end, literally, but means the infinite light of God. What does it mean? Because ultimately, nothing lasts forever. Talk about the sun and the moon and the universe, and millions of years, whatever the scientists say that it takes for the sun to blow out, or from a baby star to a blown out old star, whatever. Obviously, it's millions and millions of years. It's incredible, incredible energy. But ultimately, everything is limited. We're in a physical universe, and everything in a physical universe has to have an end. It has to have a beginning, has to have an end, even if it's millions, granted tens of millions of years old. Nevertheless, it's all finite. The other hand, and you'd also say perpetual motion is very, very unscientific, that if a person brings, and this is the actual situation, they go to the copyright the agency, and you say, I just want to copyright that my machine that goes on perpetually, they throw you out. They won't even listen to you. They won't give you the time of day. No such thing as perpetual motion. Now what's happening is when you procreate, that you are actually have that power of infinity inside of you. That infinity that we say that brings two opposite people, different people, let's use that word, between a man and a wife, that power results with a child, because then the human race does perpetuate infinitely, because the child will have children, go on forever. So that's a deeper idea of looking in a deeper situation. Again, you'd say marriage, it's regular, man, women, it's normal. But here, if you're looking in a deeper sense, you see the spirituality of what's really happening between a man and a woman, and the marriage ceremony and having children in the world over here. Now, another thing that, again, for man and woman, since they are a unit, I know this is because many people have this argument, men and women have different obligations in Judaism, but certain things are, the man is the giver, again looking at the physical relationship, and the woman is the receiver. And again, you need two to tango. You need a receiver and a giver in order to have a unity, to have a full relationship. So that's actually the idea of the man and the woman. They come together and they actually have this harmonious unity. Now, what comes out is many times there's commandments that are only for men. There are certain commandments only for women. This is very, very important, because the man is a giver, that he has his function. I mean, you could be equal, but not the same. That's what's really the important point. Men and women don't have to be exactly the same. Two people are never the same, but even men and women are not the same. But if they function together, then they have a couple in unity. And I'll just give you an example, because I know the issues that Jewish Orthodoxy and Kabbalah, which is, of course, mainly Torah Judaism, that actually looks down at women. That's the way many people would look at it, and it's really not true absolutely at all. That actually, it says with Abraham and Sarah, they had their first boy was Ishmael, and Abraham loved him and wanted to keep him, and Sarah wanted to get rid of him, so it was a bad influence on their other son Isaac. And God gives a beautiful answer to that. Who's right? He says Sarah's right. She's greater than you. Listen to her voice. The Rashi commentary actually says that listen to her voice. Her level of prophecy was greater than Abraham. So even though we say who was the first Jew, Abraham, you see that real Kabbalah talk about prophecy actually says Sarah is better. She doesn't get such the press coverage as Abraham. That's a different issue. She really was a greater person. And really, we don't have the time now. It would be worthy to go through all the biblical personalities and look at them, that they were actually very, very high-level people, and that they were, the women were held in high esteem. Keep this in mind, though, that also that they were, you're talking 4,000 years ago. We're not talking about New Age. We're not talking about the 21st century in the Western Hemisphere. We're talking about in the Middle East, talking 4,000 years ago. And the Kabbalah says that the women actually were on a higher spiritual level than even the men. So that's a very, very important point that to keep in mind, because I know a lot of people have issues with that, the idea of that women are maybe inferior. They think that, where they get that idea from, they look at it, and it's absolutely not true at all. If anything, it's really the opposite, that you actually have that the women are on a higher spiritual note than even the men. And just to raise up children, using a little bit of spheros again, we're talking about the 10 emanations, that they use the male, the giver, is the chachma, is the wisdom. That's the first, the top sphera, wisdom. Bina is number 2, is understanding. And again, they're a couple, they work together. You get the idea. Chachma is more when the wisdom is the idea of a flash of an idea. Someone has a big idea, a new idea, but then Bina's understanding is to develop it. I give an example in my classes, equal MC2. Albert Einstein came up with the idea of nuclear energy, but when they wanted to make a nuclear bomb in World War II, they didn't call Albert Einstein over, because he was a theorist. He thought of new ideas, but being practical, that wasn't his field. I'll take that to a man and a woman. Really, again, in the going back to the idea of the baby relationship, obviously you need two to tango. The man starts off, but really, and sometimes unfortunately, the man goes away. Obviously, he should be there as a loving father, husband and father his whole life. But ultimately, even if he goes away after the first night, and if they have a baby, no one needs him. He doesn't have to be there. Of course, he should be there, but he doesn't have to be there. And look at the woman takes these 2 cells, and then 9 months later, obviously developing throughout the 9 months, 9 months later you have a full baby. There's a baby there, a full human being. So again, looking at the practical, the real world, we just did, a real example, that's the idea spiritually between wisdom and understanding. Wisdom is the flash of an idea, someone inspired with an idea, and then there's other people that take things out and to be a very practical way. Now it says the woman, again, instead of thinking that she's a dingbat, a dumbbell, again, Judaism never said this idea. Maybe people get it from other societies, other cultures, other religions. That is not, and it all has to be with Judaism. And it doesn't Kabbalah, because the Kabbalah deals with, on the spiritual basis, that the woman actually, it says, Bina Yasir, using Hebrew words and Talmudic words, that the more understanding was given to a woman more than to a man. So again, not that she's a fool, that on the contrary, She has more understanding, but that's that she develops these ideas more and more, and just like she develops the two cells into a fetus, into a baby ultimately, she makes everything into a full human being. So this is a beautiful idea where, again, using the male-female relationship in Kabbalah, showing that women are far, far from being inferior. There's no such a thing like this in Judaism. Never says such an idea like this. But everybody has their strong traits and their weaker traits. Everybody has their special function, as we said about the brain and the heart. What's better? What would you rather have, your brain or your heart? I mean, it's a fool's question. Obviously, you need both. And then those are things like your right hand, your left arm. What does that mean? You're just different functions in your body, and you need them all, and you need to be complete. This idea of better, worse, inferior, superior has no mark in Kabbalah at all. Everything has its function. Everything is individualized. Everything has its purpose in the world, and no one can say they're better than anybody else. And that's example, again, using the body example, you have the head and the foot. So the head, I'm making fun, but the head would say to the foot, you dumbbell, I think, and again, everything the human brain can do, I have the nerve endings, I'm in charge, I'm a headquarters of the entire body. You're a dumb foot, all you do is walk around, you don't think. So the brain could say that to the foot, but the foot could answer back to the head, yeah, but you're not going anywhere without me. I'm the feet, and I have to walk around. I walk around, and you're not going or not moving anywhere without me. So that's a perfect example, again, that the foot and the head are actually on different levels. It's totally important, and this idea of better, worse, really shouldn't come into our vocabulary. Again, what do we see from the ramification of Kabbalah? Learning spiritual ideas in Kabbalah, a person comes in and understands that the world, people aren't better than each other, people have different functions, they do things differently, and there's no idea of looking down or even looking up at another person, having respect for every person. Very, very Kabbalistic idea. Again, using Kabbalah, a person finds more harmony in their lives, more harmony in the world, and that's why I say it's important for not only the Jewish people, even though we talk of Jewish mysticism, but every person gains from looking at these deep mystical ideas. And one idea is very important, because we were talking about thinking into the idea of the meditation of, you could call it contemplation, looking into deeper ideas. A person has to feel that there's deeper aspects of the world. The world was made, I'll give you an example, to be hidden. It says there's one idea, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidus, great rabbi 250 years ago, great mystical person, and he was out meditating in the woods, and he just liked the woods and the forest better than the cities, because they're more God-made, and God made the forest, and man-made, obviously, cities. And he went out and he says, I'm going to learn from everything in the world. And here it is that he saw a child sitting on a log crying his heart out. I see, Baal Shem Tov, what's wrong? What happened to you? You hurt? You need help? No, I'll tell you what happened. What happened was that we're playing hide and go seek with my friends. And I had this incredible hiding place. And, the kids looked for me. They just finally gave up on me. Said, the heck with it, we're going home, we had enough. So here I am, I played hide and go seek, and people gave up on me. And the Baal Shem Tov, that's an incredible lesson. This is what we were talking about before. Everything you see and hear in the world is a lesson for some spiritual idea. And Baal Shem Tov not only said it, but he actually lived it. He says, this is incredible. He says, this is what God does. He's hiding himself. It's a tough world. Recognize that it's a hidden world, and that's what we were talking about before, the meditation, the contemplation in the world. But it's not just saying, well, it's too deep for me, I can't get it, I don't understand what's happening, just forget it, I don't see anything spiritual in the world, there's a lot of problems in the world. All these things, granted, they may be true, there are a lot of troubles, But like that boy with hide and go seek, we have to seek. We have to look deeper into spiritual ideas of what's happening in the world. A lot of troubles in the world. I know it bothers a lot of people. Again, the world and Israel, people have troubles in their own lives, to say the least. But maybe they're just like an obstacle course that we have to overcome, seeing the good in them. Once we see the good, and you see all these kind of beautiful stories, people have so many obstacles in life. They're handicapped, but they climb up the mountains. And people can't overcome any tragedy, and then it doesn't become a tragedy anymore. It becomes a meaning in the life. Searching for meaning and finding truth in it, excuse me, to find some deeper aspect in their lives they wouldn't normally see if things are going normally. And many people would say through the obstacles, through the obstructions in their lives, they actually raise themselves up to a higher level that they wouldn't have raised up before or have seen before. But that's really the deeper meaning of all this, that we're using the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, to see things that are deeper and more involved in the world, and just don't give up and looking at face value on the surface of what things are, they should be, they could have been. Don't look into the past, just see what you have right now and deal with it and raise to a higher level. And Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism actually does give you those tools to raise yourself up to a higher level, to make meaning. Today we were talking about man and woman, make meaning out of someone's marriage, make meaning out of having children, which, believe me, I know that it's a little bit of a headache. It's not easy. I know all these things aren't easy, easier said than done, but Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism helps a person raise up to a higher level, to a higher spiritual level, and overcomes all obstacles and seeing the real deep spiritual aspects of the world around them. Thank you very much.